Hello everybody. Like I said, I'm Nirupam from Bluewater Travel, and today I'm thrilled to have Amos Nachoum, who's a wildlife photographer, explorer, filmmaker, expedition leader, and he has over 4 decades of field experience with his work featured in places like National Geographic, BBC, Discovery, and more. So today's webinar is all about photographing apex predators in the wild, from polar bears to orcas to great white sharks. Um, these are some of the most powerful and elusive animals on the planet, and capturing them on camera takes experience, patience, and an incredible eye. Amos has spent his life getting up close, safely, and respectfully with the planet's most iconic predators. We'll also tell you a little bit about Bluewater's elite expeditions, a collection of small group adventures to remote and remarkable destinations, designed in partnerships with Bluewater Travel, led by Amos himself. With that, I'm honored to hand it over to Amos Nachoum.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Hapan, and of course Sandrine, and hopefully team is there. It is a great honor for me to work with organization like Bluewater Travel, and thank you very much for working with me. And we were able to book few people already on one or two of my trips, so that is really good cooperation between us. And I'm really enjoying the opportunity to work with much bigger organization as I spend most of my time in the field. I just came back from Mexico for 2 weeks with the mobile array, with the orca, with the seals and manta ray. And on Monday, I'm leaving for another scouting trip to Indonesia and searching for the blue whale, and hopefully leading another trip in the future. If this is the opportunity, just to let everybody know that before I put any trip or any package online, or offer it to the public, I go myself and check it out for whatever necessary, either for safety, for evacuation, for hospital support, or for all the logistic that work well for us people coming out from the Western world. And also for the animal, to make sure that indeed the approach to the animal, it is for the animal welfare, and that we are not really infringing on them too much. If there is too much infringement, I leave and I find other places around the world. So I'm going to try to open the presentation, and hopefully I can be successful. We tested 3 minutes ago, and let's see if it worked this time. Okay, now I need share screen. I'm showing screen. No, I'm showing the screen. All right. Where do I find the presentation? Okay, hold on. What? Oh, my screen is frozen. Why my screen is frozen? Uh-oh.
We hear you just fine, Amos.
Okay, just a second. My screen is froze. Huh. The meeting is on live, and what happened? My screen is frozen. I only see.
So if you click the share button on the bottom, nothing happens?
I can no, my screen is frozen. I cannot.
Oh.
Just a second. Okay, now it's okay.
Oh, perfect.
New share, yeah. Okay.
For those of you that are out there in the web world, you can put a chat below if you're on Zoom. And if you're on Facebook Live, if you have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comments and we'll go ahead and answer them at the end.
All right. I think I'm in.
Great.
Do you see my picture when I was 25 years old?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Wow.
So this was 25 years ago on the coast of the Red Sea. And if you noticed, the camera on the left is the Nikon 3 with a 15mm lens, the light meter on top of the housing. And if anybody is young or as old as I am, the housing is the Hydro 35 with one of the Nikon camera at the time, and of course the oceanic strobes. And this is picture only from a week ago. This is in Mexico, and as you see in my hand on the right-hand side, I'm still using the Nikon 3 with a 15mm lens, the light meter below. I'm shooting black and white film mostly, and on the left it is my CCAM housing. But The key today, just I want to introduce myself for the people that don't know me and to make sure that we're all on the same level. What I did in about 1988, I developed the company, a Big Animal Expedition. And what I'm going to share with you now, so you understand, it is an anthology of images, of photography, of my years in the wilderness, pushing the envelope and living on the edge of comfort and common sense. Because at the time when I started it in 88 till today, many of the trip that or many of the images or the concept that I introduced to you was very foreign and was not nobody was doing them at the time. Today, more and more people, or one of the most popular thing is to go to the ocean and to be with the ocean giant. Before I'll continue, I have a 2.5 minutes a clip or a trailer for the movie that was made about my life. So all of you that either know me or don't know me will get really a good in-depth feeling or an understanding my thought processes, how I work, and what do I do, and the epic perhaps of my life. Take a look and enjoy it.
I have turkey on my home orcas. Who's power?
All right, if you want to see the movie, you have to go to look at the website called pictureofhislife.com. We all know that the world is 72% water. And this is where I decided when I was relatively young, as you saw there from 1975, to put most of my effort due to exploration of the ocean and due to few of the leader of the time, which one of them, of course, no other but um, in the Red Sea in Israel in 1973 or 67, Israel taken over the Sinai Desert, and we were able to explore that. And this is how I did it in the early years, on the back of a camel, since there was not any logistic or transportation available to get to the ocean or to the Red Sea and discover or to enjoy this beautiful reef. But I take pictures in every condition possible, in this case from the air, actually out of California, over the Coronado Island at the time in the early 2000, when we were able to swim at the time with a blue whale migrating north during this time right now, June, July, August. And I go to every aspect of the world from the high Arctic to Antarctica to take pictures. And that is what I lead a photographic expedition. And that's where I put the effort. I had the chance to work with some of the leading people in the business. And one of them, of course, the person on the left, is no other than our world renowned and the legend of Jacques Cousteau. However, before the legendary Jacques Cousteau was another person that sadly not many people know, but this is Hans Haas from Austria. And he and his wife were able to dive in the early 40s in the Red Sea on a rebreather at 60 feet. Everybody need to read this book, what he wrote about the ocean. More modern time, in 1980, I brought Buzz Aldrin all the way to the right, Dr. Sylvia Earle in the middle, into Israel, and we're diving in the Red Sea. This is where I learned from Buzz Aldrin, like the astronaut, to walk on to walk underwater on the underbelly of the boat upside down. But that was almost 45 years ago. And as I said, I'm leading particular wildlife photography expedition. That is determination because of the group are very small. In order not to affect the animal, not to interfere with them, and not to put too much pressure on them, so we can be close to them, or they actually select to be close to us, rather than we pushing it toward them. Again, photography expedition from the high Arctic to Antarctica, and in warm water. Everything is about photography, and what are other photography, what you do, and how to help you or assist you or coach you how to improve your work and how to take your work to the next level that will be for promotion, for excitement, or for education and for conservation. I can and direct you. Um, I also work above water, not just underwater. In this case, up here in Ladakh looking for the snow leopard, but I'll share with you images later on. But just to give an idea of the event or to the edges of the world that I will go to photograph and be able to lead people safely in and out. Perhaps it's good to mention here that in my 45 or 50 years of the business, I took over, or I was leading over 8,000 people by now, and immaculate safety record. And I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of the people who participate. We listen to me, hear me, and I was able to understand their strength and the weaknesses. And together we went out and came back with amazing stories. Let's start from the presentation about diving and about being places, going places. And this picture taking only a week ago, last week, in Baja California, out of the small town of La Ventana. And I have a feeling that some of you that listening right now already been there or done this trip on diving with the mobile array. And here I were able to lift up my drone and be able to photograph, and also 3 people that were with me on the trip, and be able to see and to enjoy this phenomena. This is how it looked from the air if you never seen it before. And this, how it looked from underwater. And of course in black and white to create more of the drama, more of the excitement on a fisheye lens, and to fill up the frame from edge to edge and to see really how many hundreds are there. And that's what to expect when you go there. Or this is actually diving with them. And as you see the diver on the left, and how many of them coming in the front of the lady, and as she taking picture. And that is my interpretation of the moment that I was there, rather than wide angle, make it relatively normal lens or 35 millimeter, and bring more the group together of the animals. Talking about photography, one of my main issue is how to take advantage of the frame. So I took from the bottom left to the upper right, which is the longest line of the camera, of the frame. The same thing will be from the bottom right to the upper left. It is the longest line. So if you put the subject along the long line, it looks much bigger, much more impressive. Photography hint or clue.
Near 8 distribution centers as
I'm sorry? Somebody was talking to me?
Oh no, you can continue. It was just noise in the background.
Okay. Okay, still in Baja together, we're diving with the sea lion, with the male that come together and meeting this beautiful lady in a bikini of course, he's interested, or this one that came directly to me, because I did not approach it. I stayed in one place and I just watched his movement, and I anticipate him coming out, and I stayed there, and he comes so very close to me and did not threaten me. He did not open his mouth. He did not do anything. And on the contrary, he come and peace in front of me. I hold my breath, and he came around and moved away to the left side. Or, of course, this is the classic time. And again, I will do it again next year together with Bluewater Travel, and we go diving there with the orcas. That's the time for the orca to be. Actually, next year, I'm planning to do a trip in the month of July. In the month of July, there will not be any more mobile array, but likely to be many more orca. But not just many more orca, there will be also much less number of boat. The attraction in Baja become very popular, and there are many boats or many people going out or offering trip there. So in order to move away from so many people, sometimes 20, 30 boats are following the orca. So to stop that, I do not want to participate in this kind of pressure on the animal. I will try to go in July. As I said, maybe no mobile array, but it's clearly there will be more orca and will be only few boats, and will be able to interact more peacefully and more funly. Like in this particular moment, when the orca came very close to my boat, and there was another boat on the opposite side, and be able to enjoy the moment and to the excitement of this big animal that come around and just feel comfortable, because we were only two boats in the water, two boats close by, and they came alongside with us. They felt very comfortable and peaceful. Of course, the mobile array, as some of you know, they are breaching out of the water in the early morning and late afternoon. This is the only time. Between 9 o'clock in the morning till about 4 or 5 o'clock, it will be quiet. But after 5 in the afternoon, they start breaching, and then one of them fell into the water, and the second one jumped just on top of the spray, and I was able to catch it. It was a moment of anticipation, because I already knew what to expect. And in the end, the last day before we left, then the manta ray showed up and gave us a beautiful 4 to 5 minutes that we were able to swim along with her, and to be able to enjoy the moment and look at this beautiful wings spread across, and the two remora on top of her, and the light shimmering over the back of the black of the back.
Just stay close to me, Captain.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
We
it's more
move away
back-
from
Go ahead.
and for the next, as I mentioned, I'll be leaving on Sunday or Monday on the next trip, and the next trip will be following or looking for a new place to be able to swim safely and peacefully with blue whale. This picture taken actually off the coast of California in San Diego in perhaps in about 2010, 2011, where I could lead those particular opportunities. I went up in the air, and together I asked for a boat to come in order to have a picture, not just of a blue whale, but with another subject that we all have an idea how big it is. And the boat was about 10 meters or 30 feet. And you see how many times you can fit this boat along the body, and you know that this animal is the largest animal in the world. I call it actually the modern time dinosaur, because for fact that during the dinosaur time, blue whale could not exist, because they will be eliminated in no time. At the moment the dinosaurs disappear from our world, blue whale came in to our environment and stay till today. Today, we have left about 15 to 17,000 blue whale only, compared to about over 250,000 blue whale were in the beginning of the 19th century. But during the whaling time, from the late 18th century till early 1920, 1924, there was so much hunting of whale, and we affected their number in the world. They are very slow to come back, but there are today between 15 to 20,000, which is 7,000 in the northern hemisphere, and the rest of them in the southern hemisphere. Very close with the blue whale. This is the time when we were in California. I was sitting on a kayak, actually, waiting for the blue whale to come to me. The whole issue of working with wild animal is let the animal come to us. The whole issue is for me to design what is the best time of the year or the best months of the year to be with the animal, and then the chances they will come by us rather for us to chase after them. This is the time when I developed and I opened in 2008 diving with blue whale in Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, the blue whale in Sri Lanka moved away from the places people can reach because of the overwhelming number of people that start going to Sri Lanka after from 2015 till 2020 till the pandemic. Now most blue whale disappear. They went to deeper water or away from close places to shore where people want to go. So the problem is putting a lot of pressure on the animal. And this is from actually opposite of Indonesia in Timor-Leste. And again, the same story. I was able to be there on the first year or two. And after I took some people there and put it on my website, many other operators jump. And today there are 5, 7 to 10 boats following a very small number of blue whale. So I'm going to develop another place. We'll keep it on confidential and only to find out when you contact us directly, either Blue Whale Travel or myself, and we'll be able to lead you into these beautiful places. The chances to see mother and a cub escorting her cub, either from Antarctica to the Banda Sea or from the Banda Sea back to Antarctica, the trip of over 6,500 miles they have to do in order to go to a breeding ground in a warm water or into the cold water for feeding ground in Antarctica. The beautiful setup against the cliff of Baja California. Of course, there's a lot of blue whale there, but unfortunately enough, in Baja or in Mexico, there is a law that not allow, like in the United States, to be swimming or to be in the water with the blue whale. Only surface photography. Like in this one, the classic image of a blue whale sleeping over the coast of one of the islands, San Jose Island, in Baja California. This is in 1993 when I did it. Just that you know, as I mentioned, as Blue Whale Travel, very important, give you travel services, or like what I do through my company or through my organization, we will create a brochure or a field document. Those are PDF about each one of the trip, either the mobile array, the sperm whale, or the great white shark. And of course, the second one, the trip that I'm going to lead to South Georgia, the Sandrine one, or the polar bear. Each trip will have dedicated 5, 10, or 20 pages document that give you a full information before you go to understand about who is participating, either myself or my team, what to expect in a foreign land, how to prepare, and what is include, not include. So everything up and open. So when you go on a trip, you just know that you are going to have an adventure in the ocean, no other adventure, no surprises. From here, we're going to take for the next trip, I'm going to lead for a small group of people, 8 people, to Australia. And the trip up until 2 days ago was designed because of the 50 years anniversary for the movie Jaws. And together with Rodney Fox, the person, the Australian guy that actually led the world to understand that we can dive and be with a great white in the open water. Unfortunately, I got the news yesterday that, or day before yesterday, that Rodney, in 88 years old, does not feel very well. On the last trip he was last week, he had to abandon the ship, not for diving, just to be there to escort the people and talk to them about the trip. He could not be there. So for the trip in December, together with his son, Andrew, we decide that we only meet Rodney the day before we arriving to Australia, visiting his museum, and we meet him after the trip so we can share with him the experience. I'm going to share with you some pictures that taken different places in the world of the great white. This picture taken in 1982 with Rodney in Australia. This picture taken in South Africa, because in 1992, I developed another place in South Africa together with some local operator diving there with the great white. And then, of course, diving in Guadalupe, as many of you probably know or heard or have been there, blue water, warm water. I was able to practice getting out of a cage, swimming with the great white. I develop a special protocol for small group of people, only 8 people, one by one, go out of the cage. We lower the cage to about 10 meters, and one by one, I was leading people for diving and facing the great white without bait in the water. No bait. And then the shark is not being aggravated and was not, we did not tease it. We just let it be as it came curious to the sound of the cage moving in the water or our tank banging against the metal, attract them to come close to inspect what's happening. And as you see the next picture, you'll understand the shark was only 1 meter away from me. And as you see here, one of my team of photographer took this picture with a fisheye, as you see the shark distortion of the body. And me look very small in front of it. We had only 1 meter between us, only 3 feet. And that's the picture I captured. Totally smiling great white, because there was no bait. And I did not have to chase the shark. The shark came toward us because he was curious. Look at me. When the shark look at you, or look at me, from my experience, or my diver that were with me, he came very close. And if we did not go down deep, the shark went deep under us and disappeared. This is in South Africa. And again, I developed a technique how to be able to catch the shark breaching out of the water. And as I said, it's all about photography. And here, diving in South Africa also with Andre Hartmann, if anybody heard about him, one of the second best person in the world, one of my mentor or good friend, that we were able to dive with great white in the open water in South Africa. Again, no bait. And then as you see, Andre come swimming toward the shark. The light from the sun reflect on his face mask, and of course the shark above my head. And like in Hollywood, have the light, the best light in the world, lit up the shark, and I was able to go under it and to bring this picture alive. We move out from one animal to another big animal, and this is out in Dominica, swimming with the largest carnivorous in the world, with the sperm whale. And they are very friendly. As you see here, this is my girlfriend, Blaze, and she's swimming, again, only 1 meter in the front of this sperm whale, and they hang toward each other for almost 2 or 3 minutes. They were like communicating, make noise in the water with dolphin, with orca, in this case with sperm whale, click, make noises through the mouth, and the animal will react to you. All gently, all easily, and free diving, or just snorkeling. It is a gentle encounter. That's the beauty of it. Able to look at the eye of the sperm whale, the animal that know.
Gotta be shitting me, you mother.
And again, if you are noontime, the sun is up on the sky, and we are warm. You just glide into the water and be able to see the reflection of light over the skin or the body of the sperm whale mother and calf. If we go in the right time of the year, we usually between December, January, February, when the male coming into Dominica all the way from the high Arctic, from Norway, to mate with the family that live in Dominica, that will see you see a group of 6 or 7 animals together. So I don't go every month to Dominica. I'll go only once or twice a year, either January or December, which are the peak time of the year. Indeed, many other operators operating trip or offering trip during time of the year, but to see the best encounter, greater number of animal and behavior, it will be in this case between December, January, or February. You see here a coastline, as you see the whole family here, 5 animal, actually 6 behind, and I swim behind them. They look like they were dancing, especially for the camera or for the people that were with me. We kept in line because we were a small group of only 4 people, easily to keep us in line, and we are swimming toward them as they are in front of us. And here you see the relationship between one sperm whale, male sperm whale was very big, about 40 feet long, and a diver that came to his left. How the sperm whale take care of themselves. This is a protection moment. We call it a lotus behavior. The family get together head to head because there is pilot whale around. And the way which how sperm whale can defend themselves is when they're getting together and the tail are facing the enemy, because the tail of the sperm whale are the most powerful aspect they have in their body. And this is how they're protecting themselves. Understanding the behavior of the animal. That is how my focus is not just taking the picture of animal, but the behavior of the animal, which make us or make our picture, your picture or mine, more in line of people more connected, and hopefully we increase the desire to protect them and protect the environment. The orcas. Again, orcas, as you already know, available in Baja California or out in Norway. Again, I'll be back in Norway. I started this program 1991, 92. I avoided for many years since 2015 because of overwhelming number of people. But recently, orca, and there are over almost 600 orcas in Norway. There are 60 different pods. Some pods operating in such remote villages, fishing villages. I find together with another friend, another small village, fishing village that we go to, and we have our own orcas or our own pod of orca that come there for the past year or two regularly, and we'll go to meet them again in January 2026. Orca, I'm communicating very well above water, underwater. They make sound underwater, they make sound above water. They can see very well above water and underwater. And here is against the fjords of Norway during the cold time of the year through January, but it's beautiful. Indeed, it's cold, but it's good gear. If you are going with open cell wetsuit, 7mm, 9mm, or with a dry suit. Just with a wetsuit would be easier to dive with them. The dry suit would be difficult to get a little deeper. Orca coming in speed, in power, because they're coming to feed on the herring. That's why it is the time to see them. Again, orca moving, and you see the male orca, especially you see the tail, the rising tail, almost 1.5 meters to 2 meters, 6 feet tall, and that is the male one. The female is much smaller a smaller tail. Here you see the orca, why they're coming in to feed on the herring, and the only way they can feed with the herring is when they apply their tail. Then they apply pressure with the tail strongly into the school of herring. They create like a limited tsunami underwater, which knock about 20, 30 herring, and then they become motionless, and then the orca be able to feed them on one by one. And of course, diving with orca, because orca never hurt anyone in the water, in any place, anywhere in the world, in the wilderness, except in SeaWorld in Florida, because somebody jumped into their pool and captivity. In the wilderness, I've been diving with them with many places, anyway, from the Maldives, from Norway, from California, from Baja, and never was, even in Patagonia, in Antarctica with the orcas, and we never had any problem, and never had heard about any situation where people got hurt by the orcas. I was able to have a special trip that I did for National Geographic in 1996, and one particular moment was capturing a behavior that actually the only one that I know in the world where orca was actually carrying her dead calf in her mouth. She's pushing a dead calf because she expressed her grievances. Young female will express the grievances for almost a week before she let go, and more mature mother, they already experienced other death when she giving birth, and then she let go after a day or two. Orcas are actually dolphin, and therefore they have some relationship or some emotion or a lot of emotion like ours, like human. And that is a beautiful moment in this attractive place like Norway. In November, usually it will happen when you have a sunset in one hand, moonrise in another, and just before both of them, one of them rising and the other one setting, and they're looking at each other. Surprisingly, the orca just come under the light of the moon and give me this opportunity to share with you this image or this moment of joy and moment that never come again. That's the power of still photography. And we move from Norway into another warm, back to Baja, to the west coast of Baja, to the Pacific side. And for those birds, that better than any GPS and any of Elon Musk's satellite, give me indication where are the sardine. And we know where the sardine are, we know where are the marlin, the striped marlin. But only because the bird, the frigate bird up above, we know where the marlin are or the sardine. And then we see the moment we can swim with them gently, easily, and really bring this kind of beautiful moment of challenging and looking at this fast behavior and how the marlin actually competing with the seals or the seals competing with the marlin and the brideswell, because all three subject and bonito are want to feed on the sardine. And as you see here, the marlin run away when the seals come because the marlin know that it has to avoid encounter the seal, otherwise it break its bill, and then it will not be able to feed itself anymore. So this very interesting dynamic between the two of them, as one going in, the other one going out. In photography, as I mentioned many times and again about the behavior of the animal, is to be able to capture those split moment of unique behavior that is quite difficult to capture or to resonate when you do video, which each one of them, the video still have its own importance. But look at this, how this striped marlin use the bill to move one fish out of the school or the bait ball of the sardine and feed on it like with the chopsticks, because the moment he move the the sardine out, the marlin does not face the danger of seeing or meeting the seal or the bonito. It can feed on the sardine by itself peacefully, like in this picture. A split second, less than 3/10 of a second when this happened, the moment he moved the sardine, open his mouth and swallow the sardine. And of course, a little bit known that fish, in this case billfish, are doing corralling of the sardine, just like the humpback whale will do for the plankton. The same thing the sardine will do, the billfish will do. They're connecting, communicating with each other by signaling each other with the sail, when the sail is up or when the sail is down. This is the indication of the other know who's moving in, who's moving out, who is waiting, and who is in line, the next in line. So again, I would like to bring to the point that during this trip, I'll be coaching people that want to learn and want to practice to take their photography to the next level. And one of them presentation I give, it is about how to create images versus taking picture, which means is the thought process of the photographer. You have to see the picture before you taking it in order to be successful, or in order to get a picture that's different that most other people
All
don't.
right, Captain, looks like we're gonna head home.
In this case, we are in the high Arctic, and here I'm talking people or coaching people and how people practicing what we have been going through about photography of polar bear. Here is a picture that hardly anyone in the world ever taken of polar bear. Many, many people taking pictures of polar bear. People go in hundreds every year, either to Canada or into Norway, looking for polar bear or Svalbard. But nobody ever taken this moment or split of a moment when a polar bear lift up his paws, the big paws, and up in the air, and you can see all the marking, and then the snow or the wet are spraying around. This is photography. How we be able to bring a moment in nature that hardly anybody has seen before, and to create better connection between the viewer at home into the environment, and why it is important to protect the environment. Or polar bear sleep. How to create this moment, understanding the animal behavior, being patient and being tolerant to the condition, being preparing properly to the condition, and be able to get close to this moment that are very unusual and very uplifting. Or understanding how the animal behave, how the animal going to act, and anticipating like we do in Africa when you see cheetah hunting a gazelle, or you see the lion or the leopard, how the polar bear does it, also the animal in the water. Understanding. When the mother coming out of the den after 3 or 4 months that she gave birth and she did not eat, both of them, the young one and the adult, are hungry. How she go about to find food? Where did she find food? And how that she will take care of them in the middle of the ice? There is nobody around except us people. We need to keep a distance from her. Yes, we stay 50 meter, 100 meter, 100 meter, 100 feet or 300 feet with long lens, with tripod. But we don't approach her. We do not disturb her. Let her do whatever she need to do, but able to capture the image and have the chance to see it in our own mind, in our own eyes, and as she's taking care of them. Or to find out what she's really feeding on. How many times people bring you the understanding that polar bear really do not feed on the young one and up front because it have no meat in it. But look at the big ringed seal behind her. This is what the polar bear look for. And how to find the polar bear. How to find the ringed seal. How a polar bear find it. As I said, we are sitting in a distance away and waiting because we see the behavior. This guy up front on the left, Einar, he's my local guide out there, the expert on ice and expert about polar bear. I connect always with expert people in different regions in the world throughout all my years and have them together with me leading a small group. If you see only 3 people on my team, but this is how we be able to bring unique pictures and as good as the BBC and as good as National Geographic photographer. You don't need to be National Geographic or aspire to be there. You can be in today for yourself, in your own community, on your own club, a National Geographic photographer, or bring this image, epic moment of predation by polar bear. Yes, I took myself to another extreme and I went diving with polar bear. And again, in my effort to dispel the myth of dangerous wildlife. Danger is only in the mind of the people or the mind of us because we learn to protect ourselves very well throughout the years and living in urban environment for so many thousands of years and moved out from the jungle and from the desert into urban environment. But we still have some kind of primitive and raw feeling of being adventurous as we are, and to be able to swim and to be with polar bear in the water. And here you see the picture that was taken of me from the movie I showed you in the beginning. This picture taken from the movie camera as I was filming them on still, and the polar bear was moving along just above my head, and I'm only 5 meters away from them, or 15 feet. I was underwater, and they were swimming on the surface, and there was not any threat by the polar bear. They just swim, they saw me. The main reason for that, no threat, is that I took the risk, and the risk of missing the picture, that's the risk I taken, and let the polar bear come toward me, rather than me go after them. And because I was stationary in one place, the polar bear mother and the cub swam almost 100 feet away from toward me because she was curious and nothing, and she did not feel threatened. I was able from when polar bear was about 10 or 15 feet in front of me while we were on the surface. My filmmaker Adam Ravitch and myself, we saw her 15 feet in front of us. We gave a sign to each other. We went down to 15 feet, and she just came over our head looking at us and allowed us to take this beautiful picture. And that's just under the pose. And that is probably, it's the only picture in the world that we are sharing with you now of a mother with 2 cubs. And despite what everybody tell us about polar bear and how dangerous they are, and the mother will take care and protect you and going to be aggressive, and she was totally in harmony because we did not come toward her. We did not try to cross the distance. We took the risk to miss the picture. That's the only risk we taken. And she surprised us, and because we live in harmony with the call of the moment, in harmony with nature, we knew how to control our buoyancy, Adam and I, myself, and we let her come over us. We did not have to struggle with our gear and not to struggle with her. and together we were able to bring this kind of situation. Last but not least, I'm going to share with you what I call a bespoke expedition, one of only one of them in history press of diving so far, is on a sailboat. As you see here, we're going on a 1-month trip from the Falkland Island to South Georgia. South Georgia, the most beautiful island in the world, totally uninhabited. Only a small team of British research station on the island with over 250,000 king penguin, giant albatross, elephant seals, leopard seals, icebreaker, kelp, rex, and many bones of whales underwater. And that is the sailboat we're going to be on. Only a group of 6 to 8 people. And that is really the adventure of the time. We'll be diving, we'll be photography, we'll be sailing. We learn how to sail, we learn how to use sextant, and of course, learn how to be on the ice. Swimming, we'll be diving on the ice. In this case, this young lady, she's swimming with open sail wetsuit and be able to be along the iceberg. Naturally, the water is 0 degree, as you see here. If you see on the bottom, it's at 0 in Celsius, 10:46 in the morning. And that's a picture taken of me as I'm photographing the leopard seal. And of course, leopard seal, when eventually we come in the front of it, when the leopard seal look at my camera or the photographer camera, this picture I've taken, what he actually saw, he saw another animal. Leopard seal are actually solitaire and also territorial. So when he look at the camera and look at the dome, he see another seal, he tried to threaten it. I told my diver, don't move, don't chase it, and don't run away. If you stay in one place, the leopard seal will give up. And then 3 or 4 seconds later, the leopard seal saw that nothing happened. He just let go and let us be able to take a picture of it. He opened a big mouth. We took a picture into the mouth of the leopard seal. But then we follow it. We stayed along with the leopard seal as he continued to try to hunt, in this case, hunting of the gentoo penguin. And that picture you probably have seen many places around the world when we saw the whole process of hunting. That's again, the photography I will make an effort to share with you or to coach is about focusing on the behavior, anticipating the action. The risk is you may not get it, but when you get it, it is one of a kind. And that is the kind of the moment that the leopard seal is happy and the photographer in the front of it, and they're all enjoying the moment of sharing the space in nature peacefully and safely. As I mentioned, the wandering albatross in South Georgia, which is the only place in the world you can see them. And of course, we cannot forget the story of one of the greatest explorer that never succeeded in accomplishing his mission, but never lost any person in his expedition, Sir Ernest Shackleton. And this is his graveyard in the island of South Georgia. And when we go out there for the month in October 2026, we'll of course visit there and be able to trace a 10-mile of the walk that he did in order to come to save his people and meeting the local whaler and help him to bring a boat to the Elephant Island to rescue. This is the grandson of Ernest Shackleton, and he was with me on another trip. And as you see here, he's holding a picture that taken in 1917, as Ernest Shackleton left on this small boat out to South Georgia to find a rescue for 28 crew members that left on the island. That's the beautiful of the island of South Georgia. That's we have a chance to visit. That's try to make some art in black and white. And of course, we're going to see this phenomena of the big community of king penguin. This big community, 250,000 king penguin on the island. The noise, the smell, and the vistas is breathtaking. Something that will not, if you see it, you will never forget it again in your life. The picture, this picture does not tell enough, except if you be there, because I cannot bring the smell and the sound. I encourage you to participate. This is only small portion or some portion of what I do. And I'm show you a few pictures, some other trip I do once a year specialty. And this is will be visiting the gorilla in Rwanda for 1 hour. And then we go to Uganda for 4 hours. Only by special permit, I have a chance to visit them for 4 hours. The tigers in India, the jaguar in Brazil in the Pantanal, the snow leopard in Mongolia or in India, beluga and narwhal in the high Arctic, and the elephant, probably one of the dozen only left in the world with the longest tusk, and this is Greg, which is, it can come so very close to it, actually 6 inches away. I went on the ground, looking up with the wide-angle lens, and bring this power, Mother Nature, of this particular elephant called Greg. And it is like the moment to be there, the desire. And I'll be back there in February, and I'll be back in March to be able to do the same trip. And the only place in the world that you can see the black leopard. And her name is Giza. And not just to see her, but I was able to capture her hunting. Dick, and of course, because it's mostly at night, you see the shadow behind the cat. It is something that I have to do again and again. In March this year, I'll be going back again with 2 or 3 people to photograph her in this particular place in Africa. Last but not least is one of my dream trip, as I do most of my life now, looking for animals which are very rare or they are endangered and threatened. And I don't know if anybody knows what it is. It is a clouded leopard. And the clouded leopard suffered tremendously, one, because of poachers that like to hunt it for the skin and sell it for thousands of dollars, which is beautiful coloration and marking, as you see, but also because of losing so much of the forest in favor of civilization in Borneo, in Malaysia. And part of my effort is to create an epic story. I'll be there for about 2 or 3 weeks, photograph it by myself, in order to create a magazine story about the animal and hopefully develop conservation effort and also responsible tourism to support the concept to protect the forest or the rainforest that was left for the purpose of the leopard seal, for the clouded leopard to remain and to have enough terrain to survive there. So just before I finish, just few messages. My creative desire have also changed course, not just taking people, but taking picture of behavior of animal, because I want people around the world to stay connected to the power and the importance of nature, the behavior of nature. Either will be tornado, or there be rain, or be snow, or the behavior of animal, how they relate to each other, even though most of us conditioned by the media to fear them. There is no reason to fear, only to fear ourselves. I hope I've created a visual experience that inspired you. I want to awaken and connect all of us to the mystery of this blue planet with reverence and gratitude for life. The world is in our hand, and every place you see camera, it is where I go, where I take people, and small group of people, 2, 4, or 6, no more, in order to be able to engage with Mother Nature safely, in harmony with the wilderness, and to bring you home and to have you a chance to photograph, enjoy, and spare it to the family member or the people you work with or your own community, and you create a leader in your own community. Thank you very much for being my guest this evening, and I'm open to question if you have any.
Thanks, Amos. Before we get into the Q&A, I believe Sandrine is actually going to talk a little bit about, about our upcoming trips. So in case you don't know, Amos is Bluewater Travel's trip leader for the Elite Expeditions, which are our upcoming Elite Expedition trips, many of which Amos talked about. Amos, did you want to talk about those upcoming trips, or Sandrine? I think you were going to talk about how to book those trips.
Sandrine, you're taking over, or shall I take
Yeah.
over? Go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Sandrine, and I manage the elite expedition trips here at Bluewater Travel.
And she's
So
very good
since
at
last year,
she's very good at it.
thank you. So since last year, we had the honor of being the exclusive booking partner for this incredible trips. So before we jump into the Q&A, I just wanted to quickly share a bit about what's coming up. So you can see our upcoming trips and the contact details on the screen. So like Amos said, these expeditions are one of a kind, and they give you the chance to observe and photograph apex predator in their natural environment. It's always in a small group and always with like a strong focus on safety, respect, and conservation. We have one more trip this year for 2025, which is the Australian great white shark that Amos talked about earlier. And for 2026, we have the Dominica sperm whales, the Baja orca and mobulas, the Sardine run in South Africa, and the Longmont trip in South Georgia Island. And for 2027, we'll also have more trip, including the Dominica sperm whales. You can see also our contact. So if you're thinking about joining a future trip or you want to learn more, you can reach out to us at eliteexpedition@bluewatertravel.com. And we are now opening it for Q&A. So feel free to ask anything, whether it's about fieldcraft, gear, or the wildlife.
Great. So I do have a few questions here that were in our chat. If you guys are watching on Facebook, you can always put questions in the comments on Facebook. But let me go through some of those questions for Amos. So, okay. Can you go over your current camera setup and what it consists of?
My camera, it is a Nikon Z9 in a housing or the CCAM housing. When I go on a free diving or snorkeling trip, mostly with well, I don't use strobes, just use the ambient light, because the most important element in underwater photography is understanding, well, in all photography, actually, is understanding light. So there is no better light or bigger light than the sun. If we understand the light from the sun, either early morning, late afternoon, or middle of the day, then you can take a very good picture. When you go deeper, when you go scuba diving, yes, I take strobe to complement the light that exists in the ocean. Since we are not talking about technical diving, go to greater depth, that when there is no light anymore, even in 100 feet, there is still light, and be able to bring also the ambient light in addition and lit up the subject that will be living in harmony. Again, the harmony, I like this word very much, between the animal and the light or the condition where the animal live in. So Nikon Z9 strobes can be many different strobes that are working well with the camera, depending on the housing that you use. In the water, I use mostly wide angle lenses. I don't use fisheye, only very special cases for whatever reason, because it is too much distortion. I prefer to use rectilinear lenses. As the widest Nikon make is 14 to 24, but probably Canon or Sony make a wider lenses. The reason we're using wide angle lenses is because water are 800 times denser than the air that we are in. So we have to, in order to bring detail and to have the impressive detail of the animal, we need to be very close to the animal. And that is the wide angle lenses. 14-24, if you are a Nikon, 16-35 or 24-70 for fish photography. That is my preference at the time. But Sony have a little bit different ranges, and the same thing Canon or Olympus. But everything is more or less matching or similar to each other.
I should mention that Bluewater Photo is also now a CCAM dealer, so that's really exciting. Kind of along these lines, I have a question here that says, what do you recommend when you're first starting out? I'm assuming with underwater photography.
I recommend the 16-35 millimeter lens or equivalent, depend Sony and Canon or the other, something equivalent to 16-35 that allow you to get close and the full animal. Or if you are on a 16, if you are 35, you'll be able more like a portrait kind of a lens. Between this or 24-70, if you work on reef. So on reef, mostly 24-70, 16-35. And if you were going to work on macro, is the 50 millimeter macro lens or the 105 macro lens. Those are the basic three lenses that I would suggest. If you work on macro, of course, you want to bring with you strobes to be able to lit up the subject, which is very, very small relatively.
The next question I have is, how long do you spend in one location to get a shot?
Very, very good. Understanding the animal and the behavior and understanding the place and the weather pattern. So trip to Mexico in June, July are 1 week. Let's say the trip on the Sardine one to Africa, because of the very dynamic environment, I prefer on 2 weeks. Going to Antarctica or to the South Georgia, as I mentioned, I prefer 1 month. Because it gives you the chance to work through the environment, through weather pattern, and come home with a body of work with a good experience. Otherwise, you're spending too much just traveling rather to spend time to be in the land or in the water someplace. So it is depend on each trip as you see and what Sandrine shared with you. Each trip designed based on understanding the weather pattern and the destination, the animal behavior, and what maximum you can expect during the time we are on the water. But again, I must say that the sea is not a zoo. Most of them, the zoo start with a Z and the sea start with a S. So understand there is big difference between them. We cannot predict what the animal will do, but so far, understanding the pattern, and as long as the pattern, if the pattern change, I change the date of the trip too. In 50 years that I've been doing business, I change dates all the time, depend on the animal behavior or the local laws. Like in California, I cannot swim anymore with blue whale. So I had to change to find other places in the world. Like in Norway, because some place becomes so overrun with people, I look for other place where there is be less number of people or operator and still be able to get a rewarding experience.
Thanks. That's a great answer. I have another question here that says, I heard all great white expeditions no longer allow swimming outside of the cage. Are your expeditions different?
No, I'm following the laws everywhere in the world. I don't do anything against the law. I maybe sometime do something and ask forgiveness, and then they put the law over me, like what's happened in Mexico. But the only place in the world to swim with a great, or to be with a great white, not swim, is in Australia. We go in cages. However, in Australia, I'm able to open the door of the cage. And to be able to allow photographer to take picture without the bars of the cage in the front of the camera, or limiting because of the window. So we open the door, but you can stay inside the cage and take picture of the great white as the great white pass alongside facing of the cage. In Australia also, if we're talking about the great white and swimming, the beauty of working in Australia is where we take the elevator, take the cage, and like an elevator, descend the cage down to about 60 or 80 feet, close to the bottom of the sea, where you see a real unique and authentic shark behavior. You see hierarchy. We see sometimes 2, 3, or 4 sharks around the cage as the cage go down to 60 or 80 feet. We are about 1 or 2 meter or 5 to 8 feet above the sea floor. The shark coming in and they're cruising around the cage. And when you see the adult shark or the mature shark, the large one coming in, you see how the young one moving away and letting the big one stay around the cage, and they are always be on the periphery of the cage. And to be able to get to see a level of 1, 2, 3, and 4 sharks one after another in open water, it is fascinating. Something that you never seen in Baja or in Guadalupe before, or in South Africa.
The next question here is, do you miss shooting on film?
Very much so. As you probably saw, I still shooting I take with me the Nikonos 3 camera, and I still shoot. I just came back from Mexico, and I did 2 rolls of film in black and white. And matter of fact, I also take with me sometimes the rolling marine with a wide angle lens and shoot with a rolling marine, because as you already see my age and you see my experience and the smell and the joy, or remember what we have done so long ago, just like somebody looking for how do you call them, with an old car of the 50s and the 60s. The same thing was using this all the good equipment of the Nikonos and the rolling marine.
That's awesome. Well, you can always take a great photo with any camera, so that's really great.
Yes.
The next question I have is, how do you recommend improving underwater photography skills if you live in a landlocked area and only get to dive a few trips, weeks per year?
Well, that's a very good question. You have to pick up the trip that you have a good chance for photographer or photographer leading, or a photography opportunity that to practice your desire or your passion. That is the best way. The choices you make, which trip you want to be in.
I'll also add that we have the underwater photography guide. That's uwphotographyguide.com, which has lots of great information there that I spent hundreds of hours reading before I got started with underwater photography.
And just everybody to know that Nirupam is also a very good photographer.
Oh, hey guys. And then the next question is there a reason you choose to snorkel versus scuba dive and vice versa? Which do you prefer?
I prefer whatever I can in order to bring the best picture or the best story alive. There are animals that the best way to see them is on free diving or swimming, snorkeling, like most of the whales. Not necessarily orca and dolphin, because orca and dolphin, because they are dolphin, you can go with a small tank and be able to interact with them and to be very animated in the water. If it's allowed in the destination you go to, if this is available and allowed. To be with the whale, with the humpback, with the blues, with the sperm whale, and with the marlin, it is a very dynamic environment. It's very fast moving. And to have a tank and the heavy tank on your back with the weight, the heavy weight on your waist, it takes a long time to adapt and to wear it and to be able to jump in the water, the action will pass away. On snorkeling or freediving, you are much more dynamic, we're much more able to move much faster, and therefore snorkeling, it is much better situation to be with the whale. Also, whale they're not necessarily liking very much the bubble we create when we are scuba. So to create a situation where you can be intimately with the whale, it is better to be just snorkeling. Then you become like they are. They need to breathe. We need to breathe. And there it is a place where we both can meet. The best place to meet any of the animal is in the shallow water, because it's the most light. So again, snorkeling, it is very good in this situation to be able to see the light from the sun, lit up the animal, and you don't have to bring strobe to lit up the 10-meter or 30 feet whale shark, or 30 feet long or 35 feet long humpback whale or sperm whale. The sun of the light will do it, or the light of the sun will do it, and then you'll be free and will be agile and be able to go along with the animal.
Great. I think the next question is actually in relation to our trips. I'll try to get that slide back on so people can see what we're talking about. It says, along those lines, is freediving experience necessary to take advantage of most of these non-scuba trips?
Free diving experience, it is one of the best things one can do for themselves in order to be comfortable and safe in the water. It is not just because to be a champion freediver. It is not about being championship. It's about to be able to be once with your body, with your ability to be comfortable in the water. Because we are so much dependent on scuba diving on the gear, the long fin, the regulator, the tank. But when we are all without that, you are more depending on yourself, and you create greater safety to yourself. Indeed, to be able to hold your breath for 30 seconds, 1 minute, 1 minute and a half in the water will give you more time to be with the animal, with the whale or with the dolphin when they are swimming away or alongside with you to keep up with them. And naturally, there is a benefit for take better picture. Yes, but free diving is becoming popular, and for a long time it was like the surrogate or the bad boy of diving industry. Free diving become more popular now because we have developed better training, better understanding how to do it safely and nicely and in a way which enrich our experience. And from my experience, it is one of the most in the exciting moment to be able to hold my breath and to go for 1 minute to be in the water with dolphin or with the orca or with a sperm whale and to look them eye to eye.
It looks like that's all of the questions. Any final questions, guys? I have a comment that says, "Thanks for the great presentation. You're the best, and I've always been ahead of everyone."
Hear it from you, Nirupam. It is a really big compliment, and I know that you have quite a lot of experience by yourself. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sandrine. Thank you, team, and all organization of Bluewater Travel. Thank you very, very much, guys. And all your friends, Sandrine, that are doing all the work behind and putting all this website, putting all this document and creating this environment for today.
Well, thanks everybody,
Thank you.
and
Thanks, Amos.
yeah, if you'd like to join us and Amos, yeah, make sure you reach out. I'm sure it'll be some awesome experiences.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for your time
I do,
and for
I
all the
do have
questions.
one thing, important thing to add. I've been following Amos's trips for a long time, and every single one of these trips, the reason they're called elite expeditions is the amount of preparation and the differences when you're on the trip are not like any other trip. You can sign up and have some of these experience in other ways with other people, but you will not have the same experience, the same time with the animal, the same patience. It's a different experience. And if you ever want to know details about that for a particular trip, why it's different, what preparation went to it, contact Sandrine. She can go over it with you. She can arrange a call with Amos to talk about that trip. So, but every single one of these trips, he's not just showing up and winging it. There's significant effort put in before and during the trip that really, in my mind, maximizes your experience while you're there, your time in a way that that I haven't seen in any other trip. That's the reason that you go for a longer time. That's the reason the group is smaller. The emphasis is really on the guest. It's on the guest having a once in a lifetime experience. And again, that's going to happen in a slightly different way for every single one of these trips. And Sandrine can go over that and arrange for you to get any kind of detail you need, either from her or with Amos for that. So I just wanted to add that in. Thanks, everyone.
Scott, you could not say it any better. Thank you very much.
Hey, no problem.
All right.
We know each other for a very long time, so to see us back together is really honor for me.
Yeah, same here. I feel like it's been almost 20 years. I met you very early on, probably around the time I took this giant 15-foot jellyfish photo behind me in California. It's been a long time.
It's a good time.
Great.
All right,
Well,
guys.
thanks everybody. Have a great night, and thanks for joining us.
And I look forward to see all of you different time. Bye for now.
Oh.
Bye.
Huh. Interesting. My computer's frozen, so.